people? It's your girl Karina. Welcome to the channel. Today's talk is Chiron and Sinistry. Okay, this is going to be a talk that has to do with Chiron, the wounded healer. In astrology, Chiron represents an area of your chart where it can feel insecure, it can feel deeply wounded, and quite often this energy changes for you as you mature, and it becomes an energy that you can actually heal yourself with, right? And heal others with. So it becomes your superpower, all right? It starts off as pain and then transmutes, alchemizes, and changes into wisdom that heals other people. So these are your true powers manifested. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you guys about Chiron and how you heal others or how others heal you. Okay. Um, this is what we call comparing two birth placements with one another. And we often call this synastry. So where Chiron affects the other person, you can see how they actually will help to heal and bring superpowers to heal that other person. It's pretty powerful. Now, it is significant to know that Chiron in synastry or Chiron in relationships can often be where we are triggered, where we feel insecurity, fears, anger, um, and sometimes pain, because this energy does feel like a wound. And our relationships trigger these wounds. Okay. So, quite often, you're going to find yourself in Chiron um, dominant energy. And when you do, a lot of people may run away from these relationships. Um, and some of them really need to leave that relationship. But there are some people who are just very fearful of looking at that wound or dealing with that wound. And quite often, this is why we might shun relationships or feel defeated in relationships, feel unworthy of a relationship, feel like relationships aren't important. These are often very strong perspectives that have to do with somebody who's gone through a Chiron relationship where they were triggered and they didn't know how to deal with it, when in fact that person was evoking and promoting and bringing out into the light a deep wound that the partner was not facing. And so this is how Chiron shows up. Okay, so your Chiron heals your partner, and your partner heals you. Where your Chiron like lands in your partner's chart shows you where you're going to affect a deep wound in them, and vice versa, right? If your part where your partner's Chiron shows up in your chart shows where they may trigger wounds, but at the same time it's there for healing. So what we really have to do is figure out what healing is. Okay, so when we look at the word heal, um, actually in wrestling, if anyone's familiar with wrestling, it's actually a word that's used to describe the villain or the bad guy. Okay, so your heel can often be a bad guy. They can appear to be a villain. I think one of the greatest heels um, of this decade has been Sir Trump. Okay, a bad guy, a heel, triggering for people, making people feel um, like they have to deal with some sort of deep wound or deep shadows, specifically when it comes to the country. But that's another discussion. So healing itself can often be experienced through dealing with an enemy, dealing with an apparent villain or apparent bad guy. Okay, and that's what Chiron can sometimes often show up. Your partner or the person can show up as a bad guy to you or a villain to you. And this is also why a lot of people leave these relationships. But like I said, some people need to leave, but some people need to address the Chiron trigger that is happening. Okay. So I'm going to talk to you guys from a very positive point of view, a very highly spiritual, um, happy, optimistic point of view of these superpowers. But please do know that even though I'm presenting you with this position, which is really important for you to be grateful, optimistic, and excited about this superpower that your other person brings to you or that you bring to them, you still have to understand that it may not appear that way when you first encounter it, that you may actually be the superhero dealing with a villain or vice versa. Okay. So while this is a very sunny disposition, it may occur to you as an extremely painful and deeply wounded position at first until you're actually willing to go towards it, which also I want to mention is my philosophy on this channel about moving towards and integrating things because I am going hard on this idea when it comes to relationships and being uncomfortable in relationships and understanding that relationships are meant for spiritual development and growth. So while we look at for relationships for high pleasures, they're also there for um, high spiritual awakenings. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go through the house systems. Okay, if you are not familiar with astrology and are not familiar with the house system, you're gonna have to first understand that before we do this. But more than likely, if you're here, you understand a little bit of what Chiron is, you understand a little bit of what Sinistry is, and you know your house systems. Okay. So we're going to start with the first house. So if someone's Chiron, if your partner's Chiron lands in your first house, or vice versa, your first house lands in, I mean, so your Chiron lands in their first house, right? Chiron in the first house in Sinistry, basically. Either their Chiron is in your first house or your Chiron is in their first house. I want to make sure that's clear. This energy would provoke a healing about your self image and how you present yourself and look towards the world. Okay. So this relationship may present to you a trigger or a wound that is making you feel insecure about your looks, making you feel insecure about your personality. You might feel like you're boring or that you're too extreme, depending on, the zodiac sign that's there. But the Chiron in the first house starts to trigger this feeling of being out in the open and not feeling maybe good enough to be out and about meeting people, meeting different people, or not feeling, just presentable enough, not feeling like you're good enough to some sort of, image that you want to portray to others. So when your Chiron lands in your partner's first house, or vice versa, your partner starts to bring you into situations where you have to deal with the fact that you are presenting yourself to people, and what does that look like? Certain groups of people you may not feel like you fit in, or you just never have given enough acknowledgement to how you do. And then when you get into this relationship, the Chiron energy promotes you to really look at it, really refine and craft your persona, your personality and image. Because this is the part of you that you introduce to people, and maybe there's something here that needs repairing or evolution or alchemizing. And so your partner will trigger that for you, giving you more opportunity to actually use them as a vessel to bring you out into the world, to make you practice being more personable and sociable and just assertive and putting yourself out into the world, making you want to do that. So this could also just be a relationship where you guys are fighting or you don't get along or the energy is kind of stagnant, and you are like, look, I'm going out into the world. Either I'm leaving the relationship or I am, not hanging out with you today. I need to go see other people, right? So somehow the trigger pushes you out into that energy. It actually acts a lot like a north nodal energy, in which it's like forcing you into an unfamiliar territory as well. So, Chiron in the first house in Sinistry, you heal your partner's image. You help heal their persona. You help them to really define their appearance or make them want to change it sometimes to make it fit better into a place where they feel more confident, to be out and about with other people. Now, if Chiron is in the second house in Sinistry, so your Chiron is in your partner's second house, or your partner's Chiron is in your second house, quite often this is an energy that is deeply wounded about self worth and money. Okay, because the second house is money. So your partner will heal your money situations, though it may first deal with deeply wounded conversations or situations and circumstances that may have you have to face fears of being broke, having to face fears of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy enough, not feeling valuable enough. And so you're going to have to not feeling appreciated. These are the things that might first show up in the partnership. But then once alchemized and once confronted and dealing with it head on, you're going to find that the Chiron becomes a superpower and your partner helps you to evoke a more wealthier like attitude in which you start charging people more or higher, or you'll ask for a raise, or you figure out how to make yourself more valuable and more worthy in the eyes of others, and your partner is helping you to see that. They may um, have money issues that you have to help them with, or vice versa, or you both have to learn how to um, work hard for your money or create a product to make money, but you both are on this journey of discovering true wealth together. So your partner heals your money situations. Now, in the third house, Chiron is important here because if your Chiron falls in your partner's third house or vice versa, what you guys do is you help each other um, comprehend the world in a very specific way. So the trigger might be a very negative mentality or a very negative attitude, okay? Or negative friends, like the type of people that you hang around or the types of things that you partake in, like it's just kind of like negative. Um, and so that might be the trigger first. You might be dealing with really bad moods, bad attitudes in the partnership at first because Chiron is going to evoke a villain type of nature, like I said. Once Chiron alchemizes this, your partner begins to show you how it is that you need to have a more sunnier disposition about life and about your world, and choosing mentality and thoughts, choosing thoughts that help you to be more happier, more attractive, more abundant thinking, choosing thoughts that help you to be more confident because you start to want to learn or fix or strengthen the skills and the intellect and the communication that you have. So you might want to learn a new language. Your partner might have like some sort of language barrier that you have to unfold, and that helps you to communicate more. Um, so the healing that comes from Chiron in partnerships is based off of this idea of comprehension, right? It's like how you receive and take in the world is shifting and changing. Um, and this could be definitely a place where people want to leave the partnership because you may just see things very differently. This is showing you how Chiron is acting as a villain at first. Um, you have to learn how to have a conversation with somebody that you have differences with. That's a big thing that happens here with Chiron in Sinistry healing you and your partners, you and your partnerships. Now, if your Chiron falls in your partner's fourth house, or your partner's Chiron falls in your fourth house, this also could be a very moody situation. Um, it's because it's emotional house, but it also has to do with home life, and mothering and nurturing. So the triggers that will show up in partnerships in Chiron will be big on, do you care about me? Are you nurturing me? Are you taking the actions, taking the initiative to show me that you care? These will be the things that are showing up in the partnership. You guys also might deal with some housing situations. This could be a Chiron in the fourth house partnership where you guys don't have a home to live in for a moment, or you're homeless, or you have to move into a partner's or in-laws house, something like that. It could be something like that. Something with the home life is um, really just not secure. It's not strong. It's not strengthened. And then Chiron alchemizes this. And what you guys are able to do is heal deeply the wounds of nurturing and mothering and the wounds of home life and taking care of your home. Um, what can happen here is that your partner helps you to want to take care of your home, want to be have a nicer home. You guys might want to upgrade your homes, or really just go after investing in housing for yourselves or for other people. This could be wanting to heal each other emotionally and nurturingly by being more nurturing to the other person, but it requires having to recognize where you're not at first. So, Chiron in the fourth house, in your partnerships, is showing you guys how to care for one another, how to be nurturing to one another. Sometimes in relationships, we just want to give, to take, like we just want to take. And a lot of times we can have relationships where we're like, well, I'm not your mother or I'm not your keeper. But Chiron in the fourth house, you become their keeper. You know where they are, you know what they need. And that's kind of the superpower that you're learning to have. Okay, Chiron in the fifth house. So if Chiron is in the fifth house, your Chiron is in your partner's fifth house, or your partner's Chiron is in your fifth house. Okay. This is going to be where you guys are healing each other through dating and romance and being happy and joyful and expressive and creative. So the trigger could be that you guys have a bad dating experience. Maybe you don't date at all, or you've dated one another once before, became exes. Maybe somebody was dating other people. This could be heavy cheater energy when Chiron, when you and your partner are, when your Chiron is in their fifth house or vice versa. Hi, Ty, what's up? So, I hope that you guys are able to follow that. It's that sinistry aspect in which they're wounding you through the encounter of dealing with your partner, that you're having to discover where you're not as creative in life. Where is it that you're not as romantic, right? You could be dealing with a lack of romance, a lack of courtship, right? A lack of wanting to show that you are, worthy of being caught, whether no matter what gender you are. So this is big on being flirtatious, being a fish in the sea, like the saying, there's many fish in the sea. The fifth house has a lot of connotations to that. Not literally, but the idea of the fifth house is this is where you go to date and you have many options, right? Chiron can be a deep wound about having options, about having to date, about having to show up for a date, about the expectations of dating and romance. And so these can be how your partner becomes a villain to you. Maybe they have expectations that you don't like. And you're learning to alchemize that and try to meet their expectations. Maybe you don't like to please your partners. Maybe you have weird, relationships with pleasing people. And so once you get in a partnership, you're dealing with this trigger and you're learning how to embody that. Then you become a superpower in which you know exactly what your partner likes to be entertained by. You know exactly what to do to get them laughing. You know exactly where to take them to know that they'll have a good time. These are the things that become a superpower for you when your Chiron is in Sinistry in your partner's fifth house or vice versa. Okay, Chiron in the sixth house. This is powerful, everyday life, health, life, taking care, vitality, taking care of your health, taking care of your everyday schedule. So if your Chiron falls in your partner's sixth house, or vice versa, their Chiron falls in your sixth house, the trigger is that it has to do with health, and it has to do with just like being in your life consistently, because the third and the sixth house are big on these people. Like if your Chiron falls in your partner's third or sixth house, you guys see each other a lot all the time, maybe every day, because these are energies that have to do with like the people that you're dealing with on a daily basis, or that surround you, that orbit around you on a regular basis, right? So if your partner's Chiron falls in your sixth house, you guys may work together, you might just see each other all the time, and maybe that becomes the trigger, wanting space, creating boundaries, having distance. Maybe those are things that you try to do. But what it really is trying to help you to alchemize is the fact that you're looking after one another's health and well-being and daily activity and time management. So it might feel intrusive, like maybe your partner tries to book you a health appointment, a doctor appointment, or help you lose weight or something like that, and it feels very intrusive. But as you alchemize this Chiron and understand the trigger, that villain that your partner first becomes now becomes the person that you want to coach you. You want to help you become healthier. You want to help you become more organized and independent and have a nice set schedule and time management and things like that. So these become things that you want to embody, and you become now even more powerful with it. Your partner's really able to help you navigate a schedule, really help to recognize if you have an ailment, what to do to treat it, what to do to heal it. So Chiron in the sixth house can be kind of difficult. It's not always a happy place for many placements. Um, it's a house of disharmony. So Chiron relationships in the sixth house, you have to really work hard to discover how to have the harmony. And the harmony is going to be in these mundane things like health, exercising, fitness, scheduling things out. Okay. That Chiron in the sixth house, they're teaching you how to be more organized, teaching you how to be more healthy, teaching you how to be more scheduled out. So the less that you resist it and the more that you embody it, the more that you will find that that superpower is starting to strengthen between you two. Now, Chiron in the seventh house, very powerful, very interesting placement, because Chiron in the seventh house has to do with marriage and relationships. This could definitely be a situation where you're triggered in your relationship and you guys want to divorce, you want to split apart. Um, but what could alchemize here is understanding that there's some sort of fear of commitment when your Chiron falls in the partner's seventh house, or vice versa. You guys are dealing with a fear of commitment, long term commitment. Because we're past this place of being just romantic, and we're now looking at how can we add value to each other's lives on a long term basis. What are my, act, aspirations in being in a partnership? These are things that have to be looked at with Chiron in the seventh house in Sinistry. To help heal each other, you may become each other's villains in wanting to cheat, wanting to step out of a relationship, wanting to break up because it's just not um, feeling like it's exciting or lovable anymore, or it's just not what you thought it was going to be anymore. Some of you may have to leave, but those who want to stay, who want to fight for their relationship, Chiron can alchemize you to, in which you learn about what true commitment is, and you're working on how to balance being independent and being with another person in your life. That becomes now very powerful, because if you can balance that, you can balance one-to-one relationships across the board. And you become a super powerful being of being able to relate to people, even if you have differences, even if you don't like them at first, even if they rub you the wrong way. It becomes a place of charm, of social intelligence with Chiron in the seventh house. And you both have it with each other, but you also can have it with the rest of the world as well. Now, Chiron in the eighth house. So if your partner has Chiron in your eighth house, or you have your Chiron in your partner's eighth house, it's a very intense place. Eighth house is where we look at trauma, psychological trauma, our psychological development, why we do the things that we do. Not just that we do the things that we do, but why do we do the things that we do? Chiron focuses a lot on what we're doing in the eighth house, what we're not showing, what we're doing, the secrets that we're doing behind closed doors. And so your partner can first trigger you to maybe have feelings or issues of distrust, mistrust, feeling betrayed as well with Chiron in the eighth house. They become that villain. But then if you choose to stay in a relationship, the Chiron can strengthen, and it can become a superpower if you move towards intimacy and learning how to truly be intimate with somebody, learning how to truly be vulnerable and share. This usually em- embodies a conversation or an aura or an energy amongst the two partnerships in which they're less accusatory, like you, and more, well, this is this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm dealing with. Because Chiron becomes deep healing, counseling energy in the eighth house. And so your Chiron superpower in healing your partner or them healing you with Chiron and Sinistry is that you guys can help each other be each other's counselors. There's like this trend going around where like people are like, don't be his counselor in relationship. But a lot of the times, and especially if you have your Chiron in your partner's eighth house, that's what the relationship is there to do. I feel like we glorify relationships as if it's just about what I can get out of this person, but a lot of it is what you're affecting them spiritually, on a deep level, how you're helping to heal them. And this is overlooked a lot in discussions about partnerships and relationships. So, Chiron in the eighth house, you're also really deeply healing their sexual intimacy. And maybe there will be deep triggers about sexuality in this relationship. People might run from that, divorce because of that. But if they were willing to do that work, to move towards it with care, understanding, and wanting to repair it as a union, then Chiron becomes a superpower. You guys can be extremely sexually strong, which helps you to dominate in life in a way that you go after what you want, you attract things deeply, people want you, they want you, right? So it becomes not just about the partnership that you want each other and you're deeply attracted and have sexual escapades with each other, but you're able to transmute that energy into the outside world and others want you as well, which can be very powerful, give you extreme power because when others want you, they're looking to you and that gives you power. And this is the eighth house of empowerment. Okay, so Chiron and Sinistry, you guys help each other to come out into the world in a very powerful way. Okay, now Chiron in the ninth house in Sinistry. Well, Chiron here, if your Chiron is in your partner's ninth house or vice versa, you guys might deal with some triggers about culture clashes, about not getting along with some sort of tradition or idea or ritual. That will typically be where they might become a villain to you. And if you break apart, maybe you break apart because you have different religious point of views, different faith point of views, or different perspectives on life, right? Um, but if you were to stay together, this Chiron and Sinistry energy helps you to be a superpower couple that heals others, period. Because the ninth house is the house where we go to get spiritual healing, anointment, testifying. So in the ninth house, you guys may become a partnership that goes around healing other romances or healing other business partnerships. You guys may be a partnership where you share your journeys with one another, showing how you came together, how you dealt with certain situations, and you become teachers, mentors, lecturers of other romantic partnerships or business partnerships as well. So you guys become a super powerful teaching union, and coaching and mentoring union as well. And you guys may create your own inner culture amongst the two of you, a style in which the way that you do things that is very uniquely crafted amongst the bond that you have with one another. And that's Chiron and Sinistry in the ninth house. Now in the 10th house, Chiron and Sinistry in the 10th house. If your Chiron is in your partner's 10th house or vice versa, your partner's Chiron is in your 10th house, then this becomes an energy that is tied to reputation. And so the trigger may first be some sort of scandal or gossip or defamation, right? Somebody trying to dethrone your character, say that you're something that you're not. This could definitely lead to breakups. Chiron in the 10th house, especially if it's the partner that is doing that act. If it's not the partner, then you guys might make it through. Either way, if you choose to get through it and stick through it, Chiron alchemizes and the relationship now gains a big superpower of being extremely prestigious and highly respected. Okay, people don't just see you guys as a couple, but they see you as relationship goals, right? A couple that they would like to aspire to become, or just a couple that has big authority, big money, big boss energy. You guys help to ignite within each other the ability to be um, in confident authority, to be able to make demands, be able to confidently make demands, have expectations, to confidently have expectations and standards of each other and of other people in your life. So this Chiron heals you in being your own inner boss, being able to speak up for yourself, to defend yourself, and to demand for yourself. And this doesn't have to be aggressive. I mean, depending on the zodiac sign, like if Aries was in the 10th house and you or your partner's Chiron is in Aries, then yeah, it might be more aggressive, but it doesn't have to be. It could be a calm, assertive way in which you're discovering your own style in which you assert your will, your wants, your desires, standards, and expectations. And this becomes a very powerful position because if you're able to do that, then you stand mighty in your career. And this also is what happens if you have your Chiron in your partner's career house. You are helping them to expand and grow from the straight and narrow lane of legacy. Okay, so let's go into Chiron in the 11th house. If your Chiron falls in your partner's 11th house, or vice versa, your partner's Chiron falls in your 11th house, well, the triggers are going to be around friendships, um, groups of people, organizations, networking, how you connect to people, um, internet, things like that. So this could totally be like a love scandal on the internet. But it also could just be like how you merge and integrate your relationship with your friendships. And so your person is going to help you to learn how to gain friendships, get into certain circles, get into certain social circles. They may gain not just social intelligence, but emotional and social intelligence, the ability and also physical intelligence. All of these things come together. The ability to act so that you are invited into something, invited into a party, invited into a secret club, invited into a secret, society. It doesn't have to be secret. I don't know why I started saying secret. It could just be a club, a public group, a society, organization. But there's something about you being at a certain level of social, emotional, and physical maturity and intelligence that people need you. They see you as a key player or component into their group. So when you have Chiron in your partner's house, you help to, in your partner's 11th house, you help to bring out of them the triple threat in which they become a valued player, a key player to a lot of people, wanting people to have them. So your partner becomes something that people need to invite in or welcome out and be out and about. This could also be where things are triggered because if you don't see that you're helping them grow that way, you might feel like they're trying to escape you, but you might feel like they're trying to, you know, detach from you. But what it is that your superpower of your Chiron being in their 11th house, or vice versa, their Chiron being in your 11th house, they're showing you how to expand out into the world. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nikki. Can't wait for you to return. So the last placement would be the 12th house. If your Chiron falls into your partner's 12th house, or vice versa, your partner's Chiron falls into your 12th house, now we're starting to look at a deep trigger of on a very subconscious level. And these can be really hard to pick because you guys can just not get along on a frequency level, right? Maybe you were attracted to each other off of more a physical nature, but not of a deep spiritual nature. And so once you come together, you may discover this disharmony in some sort of faith, spiritual practice, spiritual stance, or just frequency. Like just the vibes aren't there. So if the Chiron is falling in the 12th house, you just might be, like a psychic attack to your partner. This alchemizes in understanding that You must move towards understanding the psychological, but also just the internal makeup of your partner. So it becomes like a deep soul journey, astral journey in uncovering the layers to your partnerships. And then this alchemizes into a superpower of almost being connected on a psychic level, right? You intuitively can see the shift and changes in your partner, knowing what their mindset is, for this next phase. You could know what your partner needs for the next 3 to 6 months because you're so in tune, so tapped in to their inner world, and then vice versa, your inner world. This could be situations of isolation where you guys fight or don't disagree or not understand why you need time alone, space to yourself. Um, but in honoring that isolation amongst each other, giving strong boundaries amongst each other, you can discover a deep frequency. You create your own frequency amongst the two of you. You create your own frequency. And so now you know what each other needs, even without saying it. It becomes very psychic. So that is Chiron and Sinistry, my take on Chiron and Sinistry, and how your Chiron shows up in your partner's chart, and it becomes a healing energy, a superpower healing energy towards your partner. So keep in mind that I've talked about triggers because it usually shows up as a trigger first, and then we get into the fun superpower stuff. So basically, the message of Chiron is that you have to go towards your pain. Go towards your pain because if you stay comfortable, then you can avoid your triggers all your life, but there's no spiritual growth. When you go towards your pain, you uncover spiritual stamina, spiritual endurance, and spiritual growth. This is about having faith in something that you can't always see. And because astrology is an occult practice, we can't always see the fact that our triggers have potential to be opening us up into this deep divine superpower. Okay. So thank you guys for tuning in. After I go live, I will work on the timestamps. So the timestamps will be available momentarily. Question: what does it mean if Chiron is conjunction? Okay, so what it means is that Chiron is next to another planet. Okay, so how do we measure next to? Well, it means that every planet is on a degree, right? And so Chiron would be in a degree that's right next to another planet. So, for instance, if your Chiron is in conjunction with Mars, it may mean that an example would be Chiron is at 14 degrees and Mars is at 15 degrees. So, what they become is merging energies together. It's just they're side to side with one another. And then to understand that even more, it can be interpreted that Chiron is a person and Mars is a person. So if you see Chiron and Mars in conjunction, you could have a person that embodies Chiron, which is maybe an insecure type of person, and Mars, an aggressive type of person that shows up in your life whenever this conjunction is triggered. If it's not people, then it's energies. So it's the combination of being aggressive and insecure, which could be a very dangerous combination. A person who acts aggressively whenever they're triggered or insecure. So that's an example of finding Chiron in a conjunction in your birth chart or transit chart. So thank you guys for this talk and for this live. I will be trying to go live at least once a week on astrology topics where we could just break it down. But if there are any other non-astrology or goddess type esoteric topics that you guys would want me to go live on, let me know in the comments below. I'll add them to the list so that we can do that. I'd also like to do more topics where I can have a conversation with you rather than me just speaking and going through the houses. But if you guys like me going through the houses and doing more lives where I just do that, then I'm happy to do that as well. I just love talking about these amazing topics and applying it to life. So I really hope that my intention was to help somebody see where they're having friction in their relationships and be able to find the Chiron and uncover a great awakening. And I hope that somebody does and is able to take something like that from this video. So thank you guys so much again, and I'll see you in the next live. Peace and love.